The Honorable Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court.
The House will come to order.
The Senate will come to order.
Okay, Chief Justice, thank you very much for being here. I'd ask Senator Paxton, would you recognize me on Senate Bill 1146? 1146.
Senate calls up, Chair calls up Senate Bill 1146 and recognizes Senator West to explain the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Members, you will have a committee substitute, and my objective is to have testimony on this bill, but leave the bill pending at this time. Leave the substitute pending, and I don't want to adopt it, but I'm going to send it up at this point. In December 2012, the Texas Supreme Court issued orders implementing a mandatory electronic filing or e-filing system for the vast majority of civil courts in Texas. Once fully implemented, e-filing will increase efficiency and transparency across the judiciary and save countless hours spent on stamping paper, searching through cabinets for paper, stapling paper, shredding paper. And to quote Chief Justice Jepsen from the state of judiciary, the age of big paper is over. Senate Bill 1146 is an integral component in establishing a statewide e-filing system. As it currently stands, e-filing is on the per document or a toll road model, so to speak. Each time a party files any document related to a civil action, a fee is charged. The fee is currently set independent of the legislature or the judiciary and is in the hands of pretty much the vendors. As proposed, Senate Bill 1146 does away with this model and instead creates a single fee per civil action. Let me say that again, a single fee per civil action. Even more importantly, it sets this fee in statute at a reasonable amount. It used to be $15, but we're having to work on that now, up to 95% lower than whatever amount that we said is going to be lower than the current filing fees that are utilized. The bill also consists of two additional components. First, it establishes a $5 court cost on criminal violations in Justice County and District Courts. This money will be used not only to offset the per civil action filing fee, it will also be used to assist the local governments with implementing the Supreme Court order. Secondly, the bill establishes a statewide electronic filing system fund for statewide e-filing, for the statewide e-filing system. The fund will be distributed by the Court of Office Administration to counties through grants to assist with the provision of any additional resources necessary to implement the e-filing system. And now let me talk about the substitute. The only change in the substitute is the definition of conviction. This is needed so that all types of criminal convictions at the justice level are assessed the court cost as was intended. The current language excludes deferred dispositions, meaning a loss of about $1 million in anticipated revenue. And understand that, again, this bill needs some work before we vote it out of committee. But I wanted to make sure we got it laid out, give everyone an opportunity to have their input. And the first person we want to make certain it has input is the Supreme Court Justice of the State of Texas, Justice Wallace. Would you please state your name and who you represent?
Senator, I'm Wallace Jefferson, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak for a few moments on this important bill. Just to remind the members and those in the audience, this has been a long time in coming. The Texas Legislature established the Judicial Committee on Information Technology years ago and asked it to be the leader in defining the e-filing model for Texas. The government code provides that JCIT is to develop minimum standards to provide for the flow of information within the judicial system in electronic form and recommend rules relating to the electronic filing of documents with the courts. They've done an outstanding job in that. They've been a great leader. They asked the Supreme Court to conduct a hearing in December. It was actually December 8, 2011. I remember that date because it's my mother's birthday. I'll never forget. This was kind of the beginning of the mandated e-filing, which the court, as you mentioned, adopted in December of last year that provides for e-filing in civil cases by attorneys in appellate, district, county, and statutory probate courts on a rolling schedule beginning next year. And it will, that alone, without any action by the legislature, will move the state far along in terms of e-filing. The benefits, as you mentioned, you reduce the cost, the efficiency goes up. You no longer have to worry about the excessive and inordinate storage expenses. The staff that was formerly using their time stamping papers now can go to more sophisticated tasks. Importantly, and this people don't always understand, sometimes documents are stolen or they are missing because the binding comes off. When you have e-filing, all of these documents that are essential to the rule of law remain together, and they can be backed up for safety and for future access by members of the public in addition to the litigants and the attorneys. And litigants can more quickly process documents online. But again, as you mentioned, the e-filing system currently requires litigants to pay a fee each and every time a document is filed. That's very inefficient, and it increases the cost of litigation. For some people who are at the margins economically, it denies them the opportunity to present their cases in court. They simply can't afford the fee. So this is an access to justice issue. Your bill would decrease the cost of e-filing by shifting from this per document fee to a one-time fee paid at the beginning. And I think that is an excellent way to approach this, because the per case cost to e-file will be less than the current cost to file just one or two documents. So this will decrease the cost of filing and pursuing a lawsuit in Texas. And David Slayton from the Office of Court Administration is also here. He knows all the details, unlike me. I don't know all the details of the exact way this operates. So if there are any questions about that, I'm happy to answer to the extent I can, and David is here as a resource.
Are there any questions? There are no questions at all. Now, the only issue, an issue has come up, and let's make sure we put it on the table. When this bill was first presented to me as chair of the committee, we were looking at $15. And since that time, there was a mistake that was discovered. David, you want to address that?
Sure.
State your name and who you represent.
My name is David Slayton. I'm the Administrative Director at the Office of Court Administration. When the fiscal note was prepared, there was a realization that the $15 fee at the civil court level and the $5 fee at the district, county, and appellate court levels, and the $5 fee, basically the fees that they are in the bill, will be insufficient to cover what we are needing and hoping for with revenue from this bill. So the fiscal note, as you see, that was filed with this bill is insufficient, and so we will need to discuss with the author and the committee perhaps how we might be able to address that issue going forward.
And we have had a discussion concerning that, and I hadn't settled in on it. They're asking for $5 more, instead of $15, make it $20.
That is correct.
Concerning justice courts, and I know that we're going to hear a lot of that because I've got a lot of county people up that will want to testify.
One quick question. You said needing and hoping for. What does that mean?
So the way that the contract is currently written, it's based upon a per transaction fee basis, which is the way we've been operating e-filing in Texas for a number of years. In discussions with the vendor who's contracted for this, there's an amount that they will need to, basically if we were to pay a one-time cost to them, what the contract would need to be, and this revenue that would be generated from this fee is insufficient to cover that amount that they've indicated.
That's just to cover your costs.
That's correct.
Okay.
Members, any others? Senator Cal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So originally thought $15 was going to cover it. It's not, so it upped it to $20. Is that right?
That's correct.
But that's just, I mean, that's the total for the whole, for one case.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas it was $15 to $37 per every time you file per document.
You're correct, Senator. The current system right now is anywhere from $13.50 to $31.50, and the variation is based upon the intermediate that the litigants choose So basically anywhere from $13.50 to $31.50 per document currently, so 20 per case.
So we are saving folks who have to go to court dollars.
Significantly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, members, what I'd like to do is to, at this point, lay this bill on the table. Mr. Chairman, may I lay the bill on the table and ask to be considered on Senate Bill 966?